Hello. Welcome to my series review of The Land of Stories, where I will review and rank all 6 books. So, overall review. What can I say? The story is about a brother and a sister who travel from our world to a magical world where classic fairy tales existed, and through their journeys, they meet a lot of interesting characters. They have a lot of different adventures. And I really like this series. As I mentioned in my reviews, the series really reminded me of King's Quest. And it also reminded me of the TV show Once Upon a Time. But it was a very kids toned down version of those. The art for each cover was great. I love the covers of each book. And although there are some that are going to be lower than others, I did enjoy this whole series. And I will probably re-listen to it again. The books are narrated and written by the author. As I've also mentioned in my reviews, that is something I really respect because it's something I would love to do for my own book series, but I don't have enough faith in myself to do that. There are some glaring problems with this. One of the biggest problems for me was, and I noticed this back during book 4, like I said in my last review, this potion allows them to travel into any book or any story. And even stories that were handwritten by somebody. So really, this potion could be a fix-all for any problem. They could just write a quick story. Like when I mentioned this in the book 6 review, Connor could have written a story about an unbeatable army that's impenetrable to magic that could have swarmed over the bad guys that were completely loyal to him and only to him. But they didn't do that. They also could have come up with permanent cures or unbeatable weapons, but they didn't do that either. So it just kind of presented a problem in my eyes. It's kind of like, the time turners from Harry Potter. People began asking why didn't they just use time turners to go back and beat Voldemort completely before he killed anyone. Yeah, that's reasonable. But all in all, I really did enjoy this book series. So let's move on to the ranking then. So, starting with number 6. At number 6, I'm going to have to say book 2. The reason why this is so low on the list is because at this point, we just got something that seemed like a very side story. I feel like they could have pushed it a little bit more to represent how important this was. Like maybe introduced a character that wasn't introduced till very late in the series. Talked about this character that was responsible for the events of book 2. Kinda. But we got none of that. Also, I didn't like how it ended. I mean, the mother lets her child stay behind, and I'm sorry, no adult is going to leave their teenage 13-year-old child in a world with the possibility that they may never be able to see their child again. At the end of the book, and this is what I was talking about during my review, they didn't just say, oh, well, I'm going to stay here and I'll come home for holidays or something. No, the idea was that she was going to stay in the Land of Stories with her grandmother, and they were going to seal all the gates behind the other family that returned back to our world. That means that mother will never really ever be with her daughter again, as far as she knew at that point. They did have a mirror that could let them talk, but what parent is going to be okay with that? That's the issue I had with book 2. That's why it's so low on the list. Number 5. For me, it's book 5. This story felt very mirrored to the previous book, and it felt like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, is how I could best describe it. Like, it was all there just to get the good army to battle the evil army. Now, true, book 4 does remind me of a reverse Bill and Ted, but, book 5 also was very much like Bill and Ted. Although I enjoyed Bill and Ted quite a lot, it only worked because of the premise it had. It didn't quite work for me here. Like I said, with the potion, Connor could have done something much better. Could have created a much bigger and better army that would have let them win a lot faster. Moving on to number 4. Well, book 4 is my number 4 pick because, yeah, it introduced a really good plot twist from the previous book. It, like I said, felt like a reverse Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. The bad guy was going around collecting up villains, and the heroes were chasing him, but, he was able to slow them down enough where he could ultimately succeed in getting his army. I don't really care for the fact that he also went and got Medusa, which was pretty obvious. And if I remember correctly, the heroes learn about this, at least the main two, the twins, they learn about this and do nothing about it, and it becomes a problem later on in the series. So, yeah, for number 4, I'm going to have to go with book 4 here. So, moving on to number 3, and I'm going to have to say book 6. It was far too short. I felt like it, with everything that had been done previously, this is one that could have had a much longer story. And it was just far too short. The climax was great, although I would have liked to have seen a little bit more connection form between certain characters that we really didn't get to see too much of. There are certain characters that kind of got forgotten about and left out of the epilogue, or when we're saying what is happening to all these characters we've met, there are some that kind of get left behind. And there's also some that, we kind of just, they don't get a finish to their story. Froggy is clearly representative of the Frog Prince. And even though they killed the witch who was responsible, I feel that should have reversed the spell, should have ended his curse. And he would no longer be a frog. Not even if evil took over, which is why he went from being a person to being a frog when the former fairy godmother healed him. So, it's just things like that bring it down. But it's sitting here at number 3, so that's not too bad. Moving on to number 2. I'm going to have to go with book 1 on this. Now, the reason why is because it had a really good beginning. It had a really good middle. The questing, for all the magical objects, getting them all, and then not succeeding in what they were trying to do is something that, I believe a lot of children should learn, There are times in life where you struggle and you push yourself to do your best and achieve a goal. And sometimes that goal doesn't work out. Maybe your goal helped, like in the book, they didn't get their goal. They still got what they wanted, and the other person got to be helped by what they did. So, in a way, it turned out good for everybody, even though it didn't work out exactly as they thought. So, for my number one pick, I'm going to go with book 3. Now, the reason why this is so high up there, A, it was one of the longer books in the series. B, it was epic. Like, it delivered on everything I wanted happening. There might have been a little bit of something that slipped through the cracks here and there, but nothing was truly missed. It didn't feel too negative. I really liked how everything progressed. I liked how certain mysteries were arisen and how certain things were resolved from the previous 2 books. I like the adventure that they go on. I like the fact that, this isn't just some random army. No, this is a historical army that's been trapped in a portal for 200 years. So, all in all, book 3 is probably my most favorite in the series. Every time I listen to it, this will probably be the book I'll be really looking forward to listening to. So, if you do like a good fantasy series, I'd highly recommend this. If you're into something like Harry Potter, or you've read my book series, The Guardian of Light, if you like adult or children's books, this is a perfect middle ground. I think you'll really enjoy this. If you like Once Upon a Time, or you grew up with the game King's Quest, any one of the 7 King's Quest games, then you will probably really like this. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it on Audible. I'm sure it's on a lot of other bookstores and websites. The author's name is Chris Colfer. I want to thank you for watching the first book ranking. I hope to do more of these in the future. So until next time, I'll talk to you later.